Welcome to Envision Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success presents The Momentum Shift. A show where we get inspired, we get moving, and we get results. Every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with your host, Eric Collier. He's the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, bringing you inspiring interviews and empowering stories that will help to improve lives. If you're ready to start making the impossible possible, then you've joined the right show, because the momentum shift is what you've been looking for.
So my gifts are actually combining the alchemy of me. So I have the ability to see what's in store with people's soul purpose and what that looks like in their future. Now, it's not a fortune-telling ball,
Right.
because we have free will, but if like based on where they're at right now and the timelines are opening up, I can see that. And sometimes if people are like, I'm wondering, about this relationship, or if I should take this job or that job, or can you tell me about what my business is going to look like? What course should I be creating? How many, weeks or months is it? So I can actually gather the information to support them and who it's supposed to be for.
Hello, I'm Eric Collier, and I'm really excited about having the opportunity to represent the Rise to Greater Heights as the Veteran of the Year, as well as represent veterans all over the world. I'm also a motivational keynote speaker. I proudly served in the United States Army and Navy. I'm a host of the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, as well as a coach and mentor for military employees, DoD employees, and high school and middle school students as well. And the reason I do it is simply because I just love people. I want to see them win. And that has earned me the nickname, the Mayor of Motivation. And I help them overcome the mental barriers to success because I want them to really have the opportunity to see what they once believed as impossible become possible for them. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And all I want to do is leave you with this. High-level results don't come from low-level effort. As well as you got to just keep pushing no matter what, because nobody's going to change your life but you. Take care. We're here to explore the art and science of harnessing momentum. And together, we'll dive deep into the story, strategy, and mindset of today's guest, who has mastered the art of riding the wave of change. Now let's get this shift started. Hello and welcome to the Momentum Shift, the show designed to help you get inspired, get moving, and get results. We want to see you make the impossible possible for you. So today, you're with me, Eric Collier, the Mayor of Motivation, and your host. And I have somebody special joining me today, and she's really an awesome individual. I've had a chance to work with her on a international coaching platform, and just her energy level and her knowledge of being able to shift momentum at the time when you think you're going in the right direction has really helped and inspired many. So I want to thank you for joining me. Today's guest is an Akashic Business Coach, and she's a 4-time international bestseller, as well as a former psychologist, and she's going to talk about that as well. But she's helping people unapologetically step into who they are and realize their dreams. So join me in welcoming Miss Rosalyn Fung. Rosalyn, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Eric. We're going to have so much fun today. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I've seen your story, and like I said, we've coached on Corey Poirier's speaking boot camp. And that is where I really gotten a chance to see you operate. Prior to that, I'd seen you speak on his business life and universe talks at Harvard, as well as in Canada as well, right?
Yes.
And so,
yes.
Your story was just inspiring to me because it fits exactly what this show was about: shifting momentum at a time where we think we're headed in the right direction, and something just clicks. So, if you could do me a favor, we'll start off. Normally we want to start off with who you are, but I really want to know how you see or how you view momentum shifting and why it's so important to your life.
I love that question. Whew, you ask good questions. I've been listening to your podcast, and the questions you were asking, I'm like, oh, what's he going to ask me? So I'm excited.
Oh, thank you.
As soon as I heard about the name of your podcast, I was like, yes. Because momentum shifting to me is about getting out of your comfort zone. A lot of us really stay stuck and we're not happy. It feels safer, quote unquote, because
Right.
it's what we know to be familiar. But there's so many of us that are staying too long in relationships or a soul-sucking career or whatever that might be, that you just in friendships, right? And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is soul-sucking, and yet we don't do anything about it. And so I really believe that a momentum shift means you must take yourself out of your comfort zone and do things by going into the unknown. Like, yes, have your goal,
Yeah.
right? Know where you want to go and who you want to be, and create that reality for yourself, that we're not victims to our circumstances. We are here to create a life that we love and we desire. And many of us, I know that some of you need to hear this, you are worthy of that. And I think that that's really a huge part, is it's inside out work. It's like, sometimes for some people, it might be like, okay, outside in, but a lot of times it's about that inside out work.
Wow. So you just touched on something that's really, really important and key to us changing that inside out work. Do you think that a lot of times it's because of not really being honest with yourself, or not being willing to sit down and to discover what it is that's really keeping you unhappy, that keeps people from shifting momentum?
Absolutely. And I feel that a lot of times, and I'm speaking as a former psychologist, which so much informs and is very much still a lot of foundation as a business coach today, in how I coach my clients. But because the success of your business or your life goes as far as your psychology. So a lot of us are choosing our fears over our victories. Like, we're choosing to stay in playing small, stay in hiding, stay in being stuck, because, and I'm not saying that to, make anyone feel bad. It's just human nature. It doesn't feel safe to move forward. Right. And so it makes
isn't always the best way to go, is it?
Not if we want to be where we want to be. Right. It is really about taking risks. And I say this quick, a lot of us are stuck, especially in the beginning, when we haven't done a lot of self-work, inner work, and self-reflection, self-evaluation. It can be really scary. Yeah. It's like uncomfortable. And I would say, Eric, you and I are, and other people who are quote unquote successful, happy, fulfilled, we didn't get here by being comfortable. We had to continue living and being in discomfort until it becomes a new normal. And so when we're at the beginning stage of self-awareness, awakening, there's a lot of fear that comes up. I can even speak about my own story, where I got into, back in 2008, I got into bodybuilding for all the wrong reasons and competing. And everything on the outside of my life looked quote unquote perfect. I had this perfect fitness model body. I had just started private practice as a psychologist. I was a newlywed, still very happily married to the same man 17 years later. And I was a second degree black belt in karate and a role model to kids, teens, and adults. And I was really confident in everything that I was engaged in. However, behind closed doors, it was a different story. I was struggling with disordered eating. I would restrict my food, binge eat, feel guilty, beat myself up.
Hello, I'm Eric Collier, and I'm really excited about having the opportunity to represent the Rise to Greater Heights as the Veteran of the Year, as well as represent veterans all over the world. I'm also a motivational keynote speaker. I proudly served in the United States Army and Navy. I'm a host of the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, as well as a coach and mentor for military employees, DoD employees, and high school and middle school students as well. And the reason I do it is simply because I just love people. I want to see them win. And that has earned me the nickname, the Mayor of Motivation. And I help them overcome the mental barriers to success, because I want them to really have the opportunity to see what they once believed as impossible become possible for them. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And all I want to do is leave you with this. High level results don't come from low level effort, as well as you got to just keep pushing no matter what, because nobody's going to change your life but you. Take care.
And purged by over exercising. And I was 25 at this time. I had not done, even though I was a psychologist and from like a provisional psychologist, which means I was in the process of becoming registered, I had not done a lot of my inner work. I was really good at helping other people, but I had not looked at myself. And actually, that's a big distraction with some therapists who haven't done their own inner work either. They're really good at fixing other people's problems, right? And same with coaches, yeah. But and so I'm on that day on stage, I came in last place, and that was really devastating for me. It was so devastating because I was thinking, oh my God, if I had worked this hard to be where I am right now, and it's still not good enough, who am I? What's going on? And how much more do I need to work, right? And so that led to a breakdown, which then led me to learn about this method called Alchemy. And when you're learning about something, you cannot not work on yourself. So Alchemy means, how do I stand in relationship with myself, and how do I stand in relationship with others? And it's a
how do you spell that?
Hakomi.
Okay.
And so, yes, it's an approach that combines neuroscience, psychology, and this thing called spirituality. So at this time, I was not spiritual at all. And I, of course, when you're practicing something, because I got into this, not because I led myself to do some self-work, it was because as a therapist, I wanted to learn more modalities. Of course, though, because it's very experiential training, what it does is it gets right to the subconscious beliefs. And I still use this approach as a business coach today. Like, it gets beelines right to that subconscious belief that's holding somebody back, whether it's money blocks or it's like hiding blocks, it's not showing up, all of those things. For me, I realized that I was unconsciously, up until this point, operating from a belief that I was valued in my doingness rather than my beingness. And my doingness was never enough. So no wonder I was this perfectionist and this overachiever and this like hardcore type A, like no pain, no gain. Like I needed to be like having pain, like push. And so, Eric, that was the first time I started to slow down, learn that art of slowing down, embrace perfectly imperfects, and I started to come home to myself. And I don't believe that ever ends. I believe that, I continue to do my inner work. I think it's so important. And that led me to Alchemy changed my life so much. I got certified in it. I got certified in eating psychology shortly after that, and started to become the go-to psychologist in my city for food and body image. And these are doorways deeper into self-love.
Right.
And what was really incredible was that fast forward, I had a really full practice wait list for my group therapy and one-on-one programs, which was amazing. And I'm the type of person that I'm a high achiever. And I don't think once you're type A, you don't change that. But it was from this now place of instead of like, I'm not enough, I have to prove myself, I have to effort, to get love kind of thing. It's now from this place of inspiration. Like, I'm so inspired by the changes my clients are making. Like, what else can I create? How else can I create in terms of impact? So it's now from purpose, because I've turned my pain into my purpose, which is helping others fully show up in who they are. And this is also in business too, fully express, and then do and create life and business from who they are and have what they desire. And so as a psychologist, I was really wanting women to let go of the shame around their body and love themselves unapologetically, no matter what size or weight, having this food freedom. And so I became the first psychologist in my province to create an online program. and sell that. So back in 2015, that was a lot of red tape, lot of red tape, but did it out legally and ethically. And
you mentioned that in your talk.
Yes. And so then at this time, I wasn't as spiritual as I am now. But I followed my heart. I could feel this energy. I was like, okay, you guys know that feeling when there's something coming, there's something happening. It feels so good, and it's like, okay, I just got to follow it. And so what happened was I got my first international speaking gig. I got to be on a magazine cover and write a 4-page article on how to flex our self-love muscle in a women's fitness community. And from there, women started reading the article. Now, on the cover, I do not have my bodybuilding figure anymore. I had a second child, and I had my softer yet still strong body, and I was celebrating the part of my body that I hated the most, which is my belly. And I had like a post-baby, belly. It's going to be softer. And so a lot of women had reached out who saw that international magazine and wanted to work with me, but because of my licensing, I couldn't. And so it was interesting to witness myself and feeling like I was being held back by my license and held back by how I really wanted to serve in a bigger capacity. My soul has so much energy and capacity. It wants to serve big.
Let me out.
And so from here, I hired a mentor. I actually met my mentor in a personal development course. They were there for personal development themselves. And I wanted to work on my money mindset. And I actually manifested this mentor. We all had to manifest our accountability buddies in this group coaching program. And she was a 7-figure award-winning business coach. I'm like, wow, we can't make this shit up. So I was like, that's amazing. So she was there for her own stuff. And then we eventually, and we coursed through this vulnerability and witnessing each other transform. You become really close with the people that you go through that transformation with. And so shortly after that, I just felt called to hire her. And that was a big stretch. So speaking of stretches, right, we can create excuses at this point. It's like, holy moly, I don't have the money. Holy moly, that's a lot of time commitment. Holy moly. Like, this now is an opportunity for you to stay the same, be in your comfort zone, or make a momentum shift. Right?
I always equate to you there's a door of opportunity you want to walk through, but when that door of opportunity is right there in front of you, instead of opening up and walking through the threshold, you turn around and go the other way. So
exactly.
So you bring up a valid point. But I want to bounce back for a second. Just hold the thought right there for me. I want to bounce back. So when you're going through this, you had one baby, you had one son, right?
Yes.
At the time. So
I had two. I had two at this point in time. I have two boys.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So at this point, you have two. So your spiritual connection. So I love what you're talking about. That energy level that you bring shows that you're spiritually connected to yourself. And so when you didn't have this connection, talk about the difficulties that you may have experienced with maybe relationship building, or, that you were challenged with, transforming into that connection with that relation, the spirituality of yourself. You know what I mean? If I'm saying that correctly.
Yes, I think I know what you mean. For the longest time, I didn't really understand spirituality. Like, this wasn't even a word in my life. Really, it wasn't. My parents are atheists. I grew up in a Catholic school system, and I believe in God. I believe in a higher power, but I didn't really practice any rituals around, even going to church. That's not the way my parents raised us. Right. So I had always also been very afraid of psychics and ghosts, and I didn't really understand why. Like, my body, Eric, I couldn't even go to those fake haunted houses at carnivals. Like, that freaks me out. I'm like, and I couldn't really understand why. And it wasn't until I finally got brave enough, because I was like, why am I so scared of psychics? I don't understand. Like my whole body has like a visceral fear. Like it shakes. It's getting like it like contracts when I think about that. And then I realized when somebody asked me, well, like, why are you scared? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I guess I'm scared that they'll tell me something bad.
Hello, I'm Eric Collier, and I'm really excited about having the opportunity to represent the Rise to Greater Heights as the Veteran of the Year, as well as represent veterans all over the world. I'm also a motivational keynote speaker. I proudly served in the United States Army and Navy. I'm a host of the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, as well as a coach and mentor for military employees, DoD employees, and high school and middle school students as well. And the reason I do it is simply because I just love people. I want to see them win. And that has earned me the nickname, the Mayor of Motivation. And I help them overcome the mental barriers to success because I want them to really have the opportunity to see what they once believed as impossible become possible for them. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And all I want to do is leave you with this. High-level results don't come from low-level effort. As well as you got to just keep pushing no matter what, because nobody's going to change your life but you. Take care.
I think that's what it is. And this is back when I'm in my 20s still.
Right.
And so like late 20s. And one of my colleagues, actually, this is a real gift. I'm going to rewind to my 30th birthday. So when my friend said, they can't tell you anything bad. I'm like, okay. So then I worked it up that on my 30th birthday, I'm 42 now. So 12 years ago, I mustered up the courage to go see a psychic. And it was very interesting experience. It was an amazing experience. I loved what it was a male psychic had said. He said something like some of it. I was like, oh, how could this even be possible? One of them was like, you're going to make a big impact. You're going to be in magazines and you're going to be, you're not going to be Oprah famous, but you're going to make, he could see like the visibility. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. I'm like, how's that happening? Like, right. I think at this point I had just got certified in eating psychology. So I'm still a psychologist. And so I was like, okay. And then he's like, oh, and you're not going to be living in the country. And I was like, well, that's interesting because I'm licensed in a certain province. Like, how could I not? Like, at that point, I was like, not even thinking, I'm going to be a psychologist for the rest of my life. Right. So anyways, then shortly after that on my first, and I only had one child at this point. So it was 2012. With my first child, at the tail end of my mat leave, I had a private practice in a heritage home, which is a home that's like over 100 years old. And my colleague, the owner of this place, she's very intuitive. So she was actually a huge part of my spiritual awakening. And she could sense some really good spirits supporting the home there, the clients, the energy, and even clients that were psychic would say, oh, there's such great energy here. So she actually had a psychic party and wanted to understand the energies and the spirits of this home. And here I am, like, ooh, so kind of freaking out a little bit. The people that came, they were colleagues and then friends of colleagues. And a lot of these women were very spiritual, could see spirits and God and just had all these stories. And these are the kind of women I hang around now, but back then, no. And so this was really foreign to me. I'm like, one lady was like, oh yeah, I was dating this guy. Scared. And yeah, I was like, what the heck? She's like, I'm dating this guy. And I went back to his place and the ghost had made rice for them. I'm like, what? The ghost made rice for you? I'm like, did you eat it? And I noticed that I was having this overreaction in my body. Like everyone else was sitting around like, yeah, so like not a big deal. I'm like, what? This is a big deal to me. This is so scary. Like, what? Did you eat it? She did. She said, it was so good. Anyways, fast forward a week later, I had a girlfriend who's a psychic who was asking me, or I was telling her this, I'm like, I don't understand why I'm so scared. And she's like, oh, I see you trying to open the door and your parents are on the other side saying, not until you calm down. And I'm like, oh my God. Immediately, Eric, I had a flashback as if I was there. And I was like, I remember that. I was like 4. And she goes, yeah. And I'm like, what happened? Because I couldn't remember the story, but I remember being there. It was like my body remembered. That's why it was so visceral. And I felt like a big release because I was witnessing it. Yeah. And so she's like, oh, you saw an earthbound ghost. And as soon as she said that, I remember he looked like this human being. So an earthbound ghost is a person that died, that didn't know they died. Okay. And so he just looked like a normal human being yelling at us to get out of his home. Because he didn't know he was dead, and we were renting at the time. My parents were renting at the time. And so my parents thought, because they couldn't see, I was having a temper tantrum as this 4-year-old girl, and locked me in the room with the ghost. So then,
no,
this is so fascinating, Eric. So that was the beginning of my awakening, and I hired my girlfriend right away. She was my very first healer, spiritual teacher. From there, I became certified in energy modalities, Usuri Reiki, and then eventually Karuna Reiki. And in 2020, I got certified in Akashic Records, which shifted things momentally. If we look at momentum shifting. Yeah. Yeah. So what are the Akashic Records? They are opening up the records of our soul. As well, when I'm business coaching people, I open up the records of their business, because our businesses have a separate entity from who we are. And so it's God consciousness. And I'm channeling angels, so masters, teachers, and loved ones. And I have every person that can open and access the records does it differently. So my gifts are actually combining the alchemy of me. So I have the ability to see what's in store with people's soul purpose and what that looks like in their future. Now, it's not a fortune telling ball, right, because we have free will, but if, like based on where they're at right now and the timelines are opening up, I can see that. And sometimes if people are like, I'm wondering, about this relationship, or if I should take this job or that job, or can you tell me about what my business is going to look like? What course should I be creating? How many, weeks or months is it? So I can actually gather the information to support them and who it's supposed to be for. I can also look at people's past lives. So often when people ask about blocks, whether it's money blocks or relationship blocks, they'll either guide me to past life, where I can see some karmic patterns repeating itself in this lifetime, even though I don't know what their patterns are in this lifetime. So it's pretty crazy because they'll confirm it. Or they'll show me the person as a child in this lifetime. Then that's where my psychologist self comes in, and I do some somatic work with them. So with Alchemy. Right. And then I can bring in some healing. But we do clearings so that we shift karmic patterns and they go into dharma, which is purpose. And
you really hit it from all angles. They work.
I do. It's so much fun. And then people do claiming your power exercises as well. So it's pretty.
I like it. When you say you want them to walk unapologetically, boldly in their section.
Yes. Right? Exactly. So people leave, and it's not like I'm still very I bridge a 3D with a 5D world. So I'm very practical. So people leave with tangible, actionable steps. So they're not left with, okay, now go off on your, no, they have practical, actionable steps. I'm a huge believer in that. Yes, you have all this information now what? Because knowledge is not power. It's applying that knowledge. That's powerful. That's what creates the momentum shifts in our lives. We create it. It's still up to us. Because how many of us, Eric, have all this information that we know what we should do, but we don't go and do it? I know for myself, there's a couple things I could list off that I'm like, I know what I need to do. Have I made time for it? No. I'm
12 years of doing that.
Right? And we all have that because we're human. So it's really deciding to prioritize it. Really deciding to prioritize what is that thing you really want. Well, then we must take the courage to go and do that. Yeah. And failure is part of it. And really, I don't believe in failure. There's only feedback, right? If it didn't work out the way you had hoped, then look at that. And for me, it's looking at it from different angles and going, okay, what's my lesson? What's my learning in this? And then try again with those lessons.
Yeah, 'cause I'm a big believer now that my plan isn't the plan, and what I want is not going to come in the package that I want it to be wrapped up in. It's going to come in different ways. Doors are going to open up. They're going to lead me there eventually if I just say yes.
We're here to explore the art and science of harnessing momentum. And together, we'll dive deep into the story, strategy, and mindset of today's guest, who has mastered the art of riding the wave of change. Now let's get this shift started.
Let me ask you something. So in your ability to do all this, so you're a great connector. Like I said, I've witnessed you at the boot camps and how you roll, man. I mean, you can connect well. People love you.
Thank you, Eric.
And so is this something that is the result of your spirituality change and just your whole momentum shift of loving who you are? Or is this something you're a great connector prior to and you just kind of enhance it now or something?
That's a great question. I believe it's something that I've nurtured and cultivated within myself, because here's the thing, the more we love ourselves, the less we take things personally, especially people, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, now I am an extrovert by nature. I think since I've become even more spiritual, I've become more of an ambivert. So I need a little bit more quiet time now. But by nature, I am more extrovert than introverted.
Okay.
I'm somewhere in between. And so for me, I actually used to be, believe it or not, a very shy kid, very shy. I was confident, meaning I believed in myself in terms of my abilities to do certain things and to do them well. Now, self-worth is different than confidence. I think a lot of people think it's the same thing, but self-worth is about your belief in yourself and your value, the value you hold of yourself. And if you look at my story back then, I was very confident, but I had very low self-worth in the bodybuilding days. Now I have a lot of high self-worth, but the confidence actually depends on the activity. So am I confident to speak in front of hundreds of people? Yes. Am I confident to help other coaches really get themselves out there more visibly and create a business they love? Yes. Am I confident to cut my kids' hair? No. Don't give me scissors. Okay. But am I confident?
The buzz.
Right? Am I confident to learn and to cut the hair? Yeah. I can have a mentor beside me, and then I'll, take it step by step with them. Right. And so for me, back to the connection, I think that's just the more I would say why I'm really great at connecting with people is because of my curiosity. I'm super curious with people. And and again, that self-worth never stopped, but the more I'm just so comfortable with who I am and not give so much crap about what other people think of me. It's not that it doesn't affect me. Okay, if certain things happen, of course, it can hurt me. But I don't let it take my energy. And so the more connected I am with myself, the easier it is for me to connect with other people. And if they, whatever it looks like on the outside, rejects me, that's okay. It's not really about me. Like, we can talk about sales. I was just on a call with clients, and we were talking about what happens. Somebody asked, what happens if you have this great sales conversation, the person's like, yeah, I'm ready to sign up, and you're giving them the reminders, here's the link, blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of ghost you. And what do we do? And I think from a take it personal perspective,
I'm laughing because I've been there.
That's so rude, right? But it's not personal. It's usually about the other person. But if we had cleaned up our own stuff and our attachment wounds, we all have attachment wounds. Mine becomes I don't like it when people ghost me, especially in my personal life. That it brings up little Roz feeling anxious and anxiously attached. I don't like that. but I now can recognize it's not actually about me. And so same with sales. It's like, it's not actually about us. So our ability connects deeper with ourselves, reflects back into the world. And not everybody's for us. We're not going to connect with everybody, right? There's going to be certain people that we're in the same energy and frequency and will connect better.
Yeah, you know, I mentor high school and middle school students. And one of the things I continue to coach is something that I've learned is that people, when you take things so personal, that people can become your puppet masters. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, because then it's like, we don't really know who we are and what we stand and where our values are, and we lack boundaries, right? And so when we are okay with speaking up for ourselves and setting boundaries and having standards and like voicing our standards, then we're telling people how to treat us. And we're also recognizing this is not a person that I want in my energy field. And these are people that I do want in my life. So I think the more clear we are in our own selves and stand in our power, it gets easier.
So let me ask you, what would you tell the people who were saying, look, I know exactly what I want to do in my life, but if I do it, it's not going to gel well with my spouse or my friends or my family because that's not the way they see things. And they dial the dream back. What would you say to them?
Bet on yourself and go all in. In fact, this is what happened with me. When my parents learned I had hired a business coach, because I told them, and then they saw me, starting my coaching business. They saw I started behaving differently in terms of how I was making decisions. And I, at that point in time, was really struggling with staying as a psychologist, a licensed psychologist, because as I was growing my coaching, and at the time it was a self-love coaching business. That's why I started my business 7 years ago. And
so that's where it starts.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can work with anyone, anywhere. Like, I don't have to be limited to just people in my province. I can work online. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. I can bring in my energy work. You can't do that in your counseling psychology practice.
Right.
And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is so me. And my parents were actually thinking I was being brainwashed to the point where, and here's one of the bravest things I had to do. My dad was my personal accountant. I had to fire him because I was working my money mindset. And I was like, I wonder how much energetically my dad is affecting my business, right? And so I also need to pull up my big girl pants and understand, what does an actual accountant do, versus like, what's my dad and what's my stuff with my dad and what's an actual accountant do. So I did that. And of course, my dad already thinking I'm brainwashed. And we have a really great relationship prior to this. Like, I'm daddy's little girl sort of thing. Yeah. He didn't really understand. He was scared. My parents are really scared. My dad even gave me, for the first time in my life, that's the silent treatment. Like, I was like, wow. Yeah. So I could have at that point stayed in my comfort zone, gone back to stay in psychology, right? And move backwards. I chose not to. I chose to bet on myself. Thank God, honestly, I had a mentor, like a business coach.
Hello, I'm Eric Collier, and I'm really excited about having the opportunity to represent the Rise to Greater Heights as the Veteran of the Year, as well as represent veterans all over the world. I'm also a motivational keynote speaker. I proudly served in the United States Army and Navy. I'm a host of the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, as well as a coach and mentor for military employees, DoD employees, and high school and middle school students as well. And the reason I do it is simply because I just love people. I want to see them win. And that has earned me the nickname, the Mayor of Motivation. And I help them overcome the mental barriers to success because I want them to really have the opportunity to see what they once believed as impossible become possible for them. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And all I want to do is leave you with this. High-level results don't come from low-level effort, as well as you got to just keep pushing no matter what, because nobody's going to change your life but you. Take care.
volunteers to support me in keeping going, because we are the, this is what really environment, and it shows by research, environment always wins. So if I had not had my business coach, I probably wouldn't even gone this far if I didn't have my business coach. But so like to have that understanding, like I'm not crazy, like making these changes.
Yeah.
So the good news is when you bet you're in yourself, you create the results you want. People were meant to just show up, eventually show up. And so my parents, like eventually, like I shortly after that started, like went full into my coaching business, retired as a psychologist. I was already making really great money. I had my big day-long event celebrating the fact that I was retiring as a psychologist, and I coached women all day on stage. I just became a best-selling author, and I invited my parents to the event just so that they could celebrate with me, even though they weren't really talking to me. Right. And now, even though they don't fully get what I do as a business, like a business coach, they support me. They're like amazing. They see the impacts I'm creating. And,
that's what they were brought up against, right? What they were brought up to believe or how they were act.
Yes.
It's different for them. It's confusing for them.
This is so hard. Exactly. Those who are listening. So you may not see, unless you can tell by my last name, I'm Chinese and my parents are from Hong Kong, and I'm first generation Chinese Canadian. So there's a lot of cultural beliefs, that's where like the value in doingness and performance came. Like if you're not a doctor or someone with high status, like then you're not really worthy. That's the messaging we get.
What are you doing? You're a failure.
Right? And so they couldn't understand how I could go to school for 6 years, have my master's, and create this successful private practice, thousands of dollars into this career to give it all up. But I have to say, it's been one of the bravest things I've ever done in my life, to give up my license. And in some way it's, false security. And I had to really untangle my own ego as my identity as a psychologist. There was more shit after that, Eric, and money, like,
so you're constantly shifting momentum in different areas, right?
Right. I couldn't hide behind benefits. So I had to shift to be like, oh my God, people are paying me money, like out of pocket now and more. So much work. And, I always say growing your business is a personal and spiritual journey. Like we can't get away from it. Yeah. It's constantly creating momentum shifts.
So as busy as you are, I still see that great connection with you and your family. How would you encourage those who are looking at starting a job, starting a business, or who have just started their business and saying, it's overwhelming, it's too much in their family, I'm not able to connect with my family? How would you encourage them to find time or take time to really enjoy and embrace the moments with their family?
I love that. So I don't really believe in balance. I believe in flow. So I think it's really getting clear about what you want for yourself, whether that's in business, or other aspects of your life, even, if you're starting a health journey, right? And it's like you got to get clear about who you want to become. And then you got to decide that and then commit to it. Now it's about asking for support from your family members, sharing your dreams. I'm blessed. I have cultivated a very powerful relationship with my husband. I'm blessed that he is somebody who has a very open mind, is very supportive, and even if he doesn't understand or he doesn't share the same passion as me, he always supports me. He always seeks to understand, and vice versa. My husband and I coach, like we have a personal development coach. We've done coaching courses together. Like he is somebody that is here to grow with me. And so I think because of that, he really supports me. I always joke, he's like my organization to my ADHD, really. He's an amazing father. Like he's just such an awesome dad. Even my girlfriends are like, can we borrow your husband? He's so amazing. So he's like that guy. I have that guy. So he's amazing. So I know I'm blessed, and I know that not everybody has spouses that are as supportive. But what I'm going to say is, even when your spouse isn't supportive, or like you're a solo parent, ask for help. This is one of my superpowers, is asking for help. And so, we don't lack resources. Oftentimes we lack resourcefulness. Look at where, who can you help you, whether it's free or paid or energetic exchange. But when you're so committed and determined for something, it's really important you create the time for it. Otherwise, it'll never happen. If we're trying to oh, you know what? I happen to have time here. That's never going to work. You need to prioritize it and then use your energy and your time efficiently. Right. And so looking at all the things, the habits, the people, the stories mentally in your head that aren't serving you, and working on letting that go as you continue making momentum forward. And environment always wins. So remember, really surround yourself with peers, with accountability buddies, with a business mentor or life mentor that is going to support you to move you forward. That's going to help you, cheerlead you, keep you accountable, right? And not in the sense of, did you do this? But helping you see the forest from the trees and helping you be in their vision with you and help move mountains with you. Right? Yeah. Those are, I honestly, Eric, I couldn't have done it without peer support, without mentorship. I have to say, a huge part of my quote unquote success, is because I have support of my family, and it's speaking up. Like, it's really created more power within me to be like, this is what I want. I need your help, or I need your support. And if I can't get it from these people, some of us can't get support from our spouses or our families. Yeah. Those are not the people you're going to. You're going to go find your tribe. Right. So,
none of us are self-made. We've got to find somebody to help us figure things out sometimes, to help us guide us through those challenging moments. And it's important that we find people like you who are willing to be the cheerleader. And I love that about you. Like I said, and every event that I was coached in that are attended of Corey's, and I've seen you on social media, you are the biggest cheerleader of everybody out there, because you want to see them win. Love that about you.
I do. I have to say, you're the same. You are absolutely the same. You're a huge cheerleader. You're always one of the brightest lights in that coaching space too. And just thank you for you being who you are and how you're showing up.
So thank you. What do we have coming up next?
Ooh, what do we have coming up next? Yeah. Well, I'm really excited. It's September, 6th as we're recording this. And what's really exciting is, a lot of times September is like a January for us, right? And I'm really excited. Like I was telling you off air, I just moved back into our home that we had turned into an Airbnb the last 2 years. I'm so happy to be rooted. And and for my business, I'm going to continue helping other entrepreneurs, life and spiritual coaches, get themselves out there more boldly and unapologetically visible. And how I do that is through speaking and social media strategies, really authentically expressing your voice and then attracting your full body clients.
Yeah. And hey, sometimes a move, it refreshes things, right? It gives you a new creativity spirit, right?
Absolutely.
And so how can we connect with you? I know how to find you, but I know how to make it.
Yes, the audience might want to know. So for those of you who are interested in potentially working with me, whether it's with an Akashic Soul session or perhaps in one of my programs, you can go to my website, www.rosalynfung.com. From there, I have a free masterclass for those of you who are life and spiritual coaches or in the service-based industry. It's called Calling in Consistent Full Body Yes Clients, and you can check it out there if you want to book in a free business soul alignment discovery call. You're so welcome to. And then I'm on Facebook, Rosalyn Fung, and also on Instagram, Rosalyn Fung Coaching, LinkedIn, same, Rosalyn Fung. You can find that all on my website.
That's right. Just type it up and still pop up there. So what would you want to leave the audience with when you talk about shifting momentum and what it can do for your life?
Just tuning in. When you decide, that's the first thing, is you need to decide for yourself what kind of life you want. What do you want for yourself? And know that you are worthy of this life you deeply desire. And you're not alone. Hang out with people who are going where you're going, who are where you want to be, because that will quantum leap results with you and for you. You guys got this.
I love it. Rosalyn Fung, thank you for joining me on today's episode of the Momentum Shift. You are truly a momentum shifter.
Thank you so much.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's this week's episode of the Momentum Shift, a show designed to help you get started, get inspired, get moving, and take actions towards accomplishing what it is you want to accomplish in life. Make the impossible possible for you. Until next week, I'm Eric Collier, the Mayor of Motivation, and this is the Momentum Shift.
Thank you for joining The Momentum Shift, a show bringing you interviews and stories of incredible people to help you get inspired, get moving, and get results to ultimately create the life-changing momentum shift that will improve your life. Join host Eric Collier, the Mayor of Motivation and mental quicksand expert, every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Momentum Shift, the show and change you've been looking for.